Right now at Gap Factory and Banana Republic Factory, save 50 to 70% off everything in stores and online. That's right, 50 to 70% off everything. Celebrate the 4th with dresses from $19.99 at Banana Republic Factory. And at Gap Factory stores, tees start at $4.99. Plus, save an extra 40% off clearance. Sale ends Tuesday. Search our store locator for your nearest Gap Factory and Banana Republic Factory store or shop us online.
Blog Talk Radio.
Heavyweight champion of the world, the dancing destroyer, the king of sing, the Count of Monte Cristo.
Yo, you think you got enough names? You shouldn't stop it. What's that?
The master of disaster, the one and only.
My name is Mike, and this is the Hot Seat, where the left is never right, and the right's not always correct. And folks, I'm going to get straight to it. If you're here to listen to more of Rock'em Sock'em Sis Boom Ba, Mitt Romney, rah, 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 you've come to the wrong show. If you've come here for another segment of a pontification to comply with the rank and file, again, you've come to the wrong show. We've been swallowing the blue pill far too long, and it's been going down mighty smooth. Well, tonight, you're getting the red pill. If you stay in here long enough, the walls are going to start to shimmy. You're going to get sick to your stomach. Your vision's going to get blurry. You pass out. Then you wake up in a synthetic pool of embryonic goop. I am here to aggravate, to irritate, and to instigate your brain. And all I can do is show you what you refuse to see and make your own decision. Now, enough of the Matrix metaphors. Let's get straight to the lick log. September 11th, when people said that, immediately you think of 2001. Now when you say September 11th, you have to say which one. Both September 11th equal in the fact that they are a blatant act of war deserving of swift and decisive retaliation, however unequal in cataclysmic results. Our wonderful leaders first came out and said it was over a 14-minute clip disparaging Muslims, and that we are sorry that we've abused our freedom of speech, and we condemn those that hurt other people's feelings. Well, I find that interesting because chatter says that film, that clip, what trailer came out either 2 months ago or 6 months ago, and this was the reaction of the Muslim world. September rolls around, September 11th rolls around, and all of a sudden, we've got bedlam, and we've got attacks, and people are calling it acts of war. Well, I agree. They say that our sovereign American soil has been attacked. And again, Madam Hillary says we should not condemn the people of Egypt, Libya, Tunisia. It's just growing. It's a small band of people conducting these attacks. Well, the Muslim Brotherhood was put in by democratic vote, though I'm told. So to me, the majority have spoken. And the majority says, America, we don't like you. We hate you. Get out. And I'm tired of hearing how it's in our interest to stop Islam, fighting, dropping bombs, the whole 9 yards. People hate us because we shove our ideals and our morals down people's throats after we bomb the snot out of them. And that is the problem. Think about it. The entire world watched the Democratic National Convention. All that was talked about was killing unborn babies at will and same-sex marriage. You know, I'd be pretty pissed off, too, if another country came over here, bombed the snot out of us, and shoved their ideals down our throats, which we find contrary to our own. And these were pre-planned attacks to rub the salt in our very wounds. And we have a president that apologizes instead of answering back the way that he should. And a further disgrace is that we have our Egyptian embassy getting involved in a tweet war. A tweet war with the Muslim Brotherhood. Can we get any more disgraceful? Can we act any more sophomoric? A tweet war. When Americans were killed in a Germany discotheque by Libyan terrorists, Ronald Reagan answered back 10 days later, bombing the snot out of Gaddafi's compound. And you know, if indeed these attacks on our embassies are indeed acts of war, then where's the declaration of war? Will we ever see it against Egypt, Libya, and the rest? And since an attack on American soil is an act of war, well, the folks, September 11th, 2001 was also an act of war. And since 15 of the 19 hijackers were Saudi Arabian, where is our declaration of war against Saudi Arabia? No, instead, other hosts on BTR want to say that they were trained in Afghanistan. Well, I put into the chat room, and I'll put it in again. The first one, rigorous intuition, there's a 38-minute clip presented by, not by Alex Jones, not by PJTV, but by Fox News itself. And I'm going to get to the phones in a second. Put out by Fox News itself. And not once in that 38-minute, 41-second clip was Afghanistan and Iraq mentioned. Not once. But yet, we like to swallow that blue pill and say the war belongs in Afghanistan and Iraq and not in Saudi Arabia, Lebanon, Kuwait, and Jordan. So I guess the modus operandi is let's beat up on a country we have minimal financial interest with. Now I'm going to go to the phones. And Ron, I see you there, brother. I'm going to get to you, but I want to go in order. I'm going to bring in the Piston Pilot. Mr. Pilot, welcome to the hot seat. What say you?
So tell me something. The 19 hijackers, you think they were the real hijackers? Or patsies?
I know where you're going to go. All right, let me quantify my remarks. If we are led to believe that those were the hijackers, where's the war in Saudi Arabia? That's all I'm saying. I mean, we can go.
Why did Bush walk hand in hand with Saudi Arabians after 9/11, kissing and hugging and frolicking through the courtyards of the palaces in Jeddah? Why were we so friendly with them? Why did
Saudi Arabians go back 100 years with oil? We know that.
Well, but they can't get it out of the ground without us.
Okay.
We get it out of the ground for them. They don't have the technology. They live backwards lives. They're not. They have to bring in everybody to do what they do. They don't build those skyscrapers. For once, Obama, that piece of shit, could walk into Saudi Arabia and say, "You didn't."
Mm-hmm.
We did. Germans did. Swedes did. The Norwegians did, but not them. They didn't build the oil wells. It took our expertise to get the oil out of the ground. We made a deal with them a long time ago. We said, hey, we'll get the oil out of the ground. You guys charge whatever you want. And we'll make sure that no oil is drilled anywhere else in the world. We'll give you the carte blanche, and you do what you want.
Mm-hmm.
So Saudi Arabia had nothing to do with 9/11. King Faoud or Faid or whatever the hell his name is, he didn't have anything to do with 9/11. Neither did any of those quote-unquote hijackers. I call them patsies. Patsies had no clue what was in store for them that day. Look,
well, again,
you don't hijack an airplane in Boston and sleep the night before in Maine. I'm sorry, it just doesn't work that way. I've had plenty of idiots, morons, people that really should have their brains stomped into the ground, stand there and tell me, oh, well, that makes sense. Maybe they planned it and they knew the schedules and the schedules were okay and they did that to so they could throw people off the trail. I heard that one. That was a good one. I said, right. You hijack an airplane out of Boston, but you don't go to Boston the night before. No, you sleep in Maine and you make a connecting flight that morning with a 40-minute window for the flight that you're going to hijack. And you don't worry about taking your box cutters twice through security. You go through security in Maine with your box cutters, quote unquote, and you also go through your security in Boston. Bullshit.
But haven't we made it so that we can't bring box cutters on planes anymore? Haven't we tightened up the security so that'll never happen again?
You couldn't I don't think you could bring box cutters back then either. And certainly if there were 8 of you all with box cutters, it would have been a little bit suspicious. They threw the alarms off on the metal detectors, but not for box cutters. I don't think those guys had a box cutter on them. Maybe a nail file. Maybe they clipped their nails in the seats. That could have been.
What do you think they had?
I think they had nothing. I think they had a wallet, they had a passport, some money, and an itinerary. Yeah, you can put on Netflix. I think they had, that's exactly what they had. I think they had nothing. I think they had plans for later in the day. Maybe like the week before when they were getting laid in Las Vegas and strippers and spending money and boozing it up when they were supposed to cleanse themselves.
Those fundamental, Islamists that are so religiously stringent, they sure loved those strip clubs, didn't they?
Well, those guys did because those guys were here for a different reason. Those guys were not here to hijack airplanes. Somebody in our military and our intelligence service set them up just as they set up the poor bastards, 3,000 of them, when they told them stay in the building when the one thing plane. Now, let me ask you something.
Sure.
If you were in the South Tower, the North Tower, you never remember which was hit first. Whichever one was hit first. You're looking out the window. You see the building next to you on fire. Yes. So, what do? You stay in your office and watch it, or you think, I should get the hell out of here? I think I should get the hell out of there.
You mean on the other? Yeah. Well, we'll see again. We were under the guise. Our first reaction was that it was a terrible accident. That the plane when something happened, and the first one. We all thought it was an accident at first jolt. I don't know if you did.
I thought it was. I thought it might have been a plane. But see, I didn't know the plane was traveling at 400 knots. I thought the plane was just traveling maybe at 180 knots on an approach from one of the airports. I mean, it's kind of hard to miss the Twin Towers when you're flying in New York. They're pretty big.
No, that's true.
But I don't see people. I don't see the pilots. If it was cloudy and somebody went off course, somebody executed the instrument approach incorrectly, I could see it. But you've got air traffic control all over that place. Let me tell you what it's like to fly up to
New York City. Before you do that, can you please tell the audience your credentials?
I'm a pilot. I got a big mouth. I'm one angry Jew.
Okay, I know who you are. Can you elaborate, though, your pilot experience, years of experience, the planes you've flown, things of that nature?
700 hours of flying experience. I'm a certificated pilot. I don't have a pilot's license.
Okay.
Everybody likes to say that, you have a pilot's license. I tell everybody, no, I don't have one.
Mm-hmm.
Well, but you fly airplanes? Yeah. Well, what do you mean? Well, license is an achievement. It is a competence. It says that I'm competent to fly. It doesn't say that I have permission to fly. It says I have the competence to fly, according to the FAA. But a license is something that is permission that would be otherwise illegal unless the government gave you permission to do it. So when you have a marriage license, I always ask people, well, is that illegal to get married? I love asking my Jesuit friends who are usually very liberal and somehow swallow the abortion thing and vote for Democrats anyway. But I always ask them, I say, well, if I need a license to get married, why do I need that? Is that illegal? Because that's what a license is. It says you either get this or it's illegal. So anyway, I got a pilot certificate.
Let me ask you, why is America so afraid to search the truth and to just accept what the government constantly feeds them? Like I made references in my introduction that we've swallowed the blue pill and it goes down so smooth. Why is that? Why do we just do that? Why do we just belly along?
We're up on fluoride and everything else, and we've who knows? The pills that we have made us stupid. Certainly, the drinking of fluoride. And so you know, fluoride is mostly in black. Where black big cities
You're cutting out a little. I don't know what this. If we have a connect, can you repeat that?
It was served up in cities with black people in it.
Because
they like to keep black people stupid. They perpetuate that, and they make sure that happens with everything that they do.
Well, see, I find it interesting that we're just so quick to just be spoon-fed, and again, and I've listened to other hosts.
Well, I'm guilty of it too. Look, I didn't become a 9/11 until I found out in 2006. Hey, hang on there. I found out in 2006 that Building 7 fell to the ground. No help anything. When I heard that, I said, "Well, wait a minute, 7." I didn't even know 7 fell to the ground. And most people.
No, you're really cutting out. It's like I'm getting every other word. Yeah. I think you alluded to Building 7.
But I hear you perfectly. I hear you fine.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, somehow you were going in and out.
Well, hold on a second. Let's see if.
I think you mentioned Building 7, right? Did you mention Building 7 collapsing? So-called collapsing.
Yeah, I did.
Well, I also put in the chat room, which I actually got from the Constitution Hour, who I'm going to bring in just a second because he's been patiently waiting too. It's under an hour clip, and it's done by independent architects and engineers. No affiliation with the government. Not under any government compliance to have their words and their presentation censored. And again, I challenge everyone in this chat room to go to these links, and after the show or during the weekend, watch them both in their entirety, and then come back at me and say that it's ridiculous. I mean, you can't deny the laws of physics. Yet people just want to run away from it. Now, Piston Pilot, I want to bring in a good friend, Ron Constitution Hour, to join in the discussion. Ron, my man, welcome to the hot seat. What you got for me?
Man, I'm really enjoying the conversation, and
I told you it's going to be controversial.
Man, that ain't controversial. Your guest is spot on when he's talking about a license being permission to do that which is otherwise illegal. And I would direct everyone, and I put it in the chat room, if you want to understand that concept, you need to go no further than reading the Trading with the Enemies Act of 1917 that was amended in 1933 by FDR to include American citizens.
Well, to define American citizens as the enemy, they were exempted in 1917. 1933, that scumbag piece of crap FDR, may he rot in hell, he convinced the Congress to amend the Trading with the Enemy Act. But they were such scumbags even back then that they didn't call it the Trading with the Enemy Act. They called it the Act of 1917.
Correct.
To sort of bury their tracks a little bit.
Yeah, but people see, but people though, Ron and what do I call you? I don't want to call you one.
Call me Jew. Call me Jew. I got everybody on Blog Talk Radio calling me Jew. It's phenomenal.
Well, I guess I don't want to be disparaging or what have you, but
that's not disparaging. You're calling him a Christian.
At any rate, guys,
what's disparaging?
Most people would. Well, I know. Well, anyway, most people
you'll get over your
would say.
Comfort.
Okay. would say that we are un-American to question the morals and motives of our very leaders. Now, a quote from Ben Franklin: "It is the first responsibility of every citizen to question authority. So what's so un-American about that?
It's not. I'd probably, if I was on air, wish that pray to Jesus that they get cancer or something like that. Because I would like a stupid plague to come through and take out all the stupid people. That would make things a lot easier.
Well, I would just love an explanation from people that say,
when you sit down and shut up. Don't you remember Howard Stern? His father should say, "Sit down, shut up."
Yeah, I don't.
They don't want you to talk about this stuff because it offends them. Plus, thinking is scary for a lot of people. I always tell people that if you're going to start thinking, maybe you should see a doctor before you do it. In case you hurt yourself in some way.
Ron, what do you think? Is it un-American? Is Ben Franklin un-American by saying that it's the first responsibility of every citizen to question authority?
Of course, if you listen to Ben Franklin, you'd have to chase skirt a lot, too, because he did that, too.
Yeah. I would have to ask first.
I'm sorry, Ron, go ahead. You got it.
I would first have to ask which America you're speaking of. If you're talking about the America,
the nationalistics, the cis boomba, America, love it or leave it.
No, that's not what he's talking about.
No, what I'm talking about is if you're speaking of the America that the founders of this country envisioned, then most certainly it is absolutely patriotic and wholly American. If you are talking about, however, the America that was created, the new union that was created after the election of Abraham Lincoln and the descent of this country into a fascistic system, then certainly under the current status quo, it is wholly un-American to question anything, sir.
So
you should just be a good little slave and shut the hell up and go back to work, or go back and collect your welfare check, whichever side you're on.
Right. Recently, at another show, I of course was outnumbered, and I like it. I was called a rebel, and I was called a tortured rebel. Well, weren't our founding fathers rebels? So, I kind of take that as a compliment.
I certainly would. I would wear it as a badge of honor because I've said it many times. Were the founding fathers to arise from their graves and walk onto the scene today, they would be arrested, taken to Gitmo. They would endure enhanced interrogation techniques, and they may even be renditioned to places like Turkey for a little more up-close and personal enhanced interrogation techniques. But they would certainly be labeled as terrorists. No question.
And I was also, I love the popular rank and file banter of, to change the government, to take the country back. We have to work within the system. I talk about leaving both parties and revolting with the vote, and but they say we must work within the system, and a non-vote for Romney is a vote for Obama. But here's a quote from Thomas Jefferson: "Every people may establish what form of government they please and change it as they please, the will of the nation being the only thing essential." And I think Daniel, who's in the chat room with his Reclamation Project X, would agree with Thomas Jefferson that we have to change. And it's right to change the government when it gets out of hand, and further when it loses its ethics and morality. When basically it
look, what you're describing, the idea of changing the current system from within that system, is like standing in a 5-gallon bucket and trying to lift yourself up by the handle. Period.
I mean, don't we have the right to change the government if it has become treasonous?
Certainly.
No.
Not even if it's become treasonous. It doesn't have to go that far.
No, you don't have any rights.
Well, what do we have?
You have
submission.
You have a system that treats you as the enemy. You have courts that pretend to give you jurisprudence, but they don't. And you have a government that pretends to abide by Constitution, that I say was suspended at least in 1933 and may have disappeared in the time of Lincoln.
I want to bring in a third caller. I think it's Linda, 906.
Nope.
That would be Michael.
Oh, Michael Magic Man.
Yes, sir.
Michael, this is your first time call. Welcome to the hot seat.
Thank you so much. I'm enjoying the show very much, Mike.
Good.
And I just wanted to make a comment in regards to the Christian pilot, and he had mentioned something about fluoride, okay? And I've recently done a bunch of research about that, and I've actually found a great website that lists every county in the United States, and it seems that the acceptable level of fluoride is 1.2 parts per million, okay? And in the city that I live, in the Upper Peninsula of Michigan, which is only 6,000 people, the level of fluoride is 4 parts per million. And, I mean, it's a proven fact that fluoride is nothing more than a poison, and it does far, far, far more harm than good. And I'm going to drop that link in there if anybody would like to check out their county and see where their fluoride level is. You can do it right there.
Boy, it's a big one. So, Mike, let me ask you, and let me ask all of you folks. As I said earlier tonight, you know, people are calling this the embassy attacks an act of war. That sovereign American soil has been attacked, and Americans have been killed. If this is an act of war, which I say it is, what would be the appropriate response to these countries that their militants have attacked us? What would be the appropriate response? And go one at a time. Pilot, and then we'll go in order.
Kill them.
You would like to add anything else?
No.
No?
Kill them.
Okay.
Well, if you kill them, what more are you going to do to them?
That's it. Ron?
I got to agree with the Christian pilot. I think we should go through the motion of making it, legal. Not that we've bothered with that in a very long time, but we should set an example. We should make a declaration of war against that country, and we should go in and make sure that they're dead. I agree.
Michael Magic?
I'm just going to not say anything at this point regarding that because I truly am not that knowledgeable about that, and I'm not afraid. I mean, what I talk about on your show or anybody else's show is stuff that I have researched thoroughly and verified and have a great deal of knowledge of. I mean, I have over 200 hours just on 9/11 alone, and I know 9/11 very well, but this topic is a little bit out of my realm. Thank you.
Okay. No, but I was just thinking that if an act of war has been perpetrated, what do you think the appropriate response?
Well, I don't even
be?
know why you're discussing that at this point. I want to know why they were so unprotected. I want to know why embassies in what I would call hot places were so unprotected. Where's the Marines? I thought the Marines were stationed at most of the embassies.
Well, they're guarding all the opium in Afghanistan, sir.
And not just that, but have you heard? The job support came out Thursday. It ballooned once again to 382,000 new claims, and no one's talking about the economy. So I guess others could say, and we could say it. Maybe it's another distraction.
And what
these
a hell of a distraction
don't last long.
Well, hey, I'm just throwing it out there.
These distractions don't last long.
No, they don't. But that's why, Drew, we need a series of them.
Yeah, but you've forgotten already about the shootings in Colorado, right?
No, I have. I was gonna say we had Aurora. That went its course. Then you had the
very long.
conventions.
Columbine had a much more long life than that.
Yeah, but as we continue to have these, don't we become desensitized and say, "Oh, another one"? I mean, don't we? Doesn't the level of shock start to decrease as we see more and more of these incidents?
I would imagine. I think that some of these things are staged. I don't know that what's going on at the embassies. I don't know if that's staged, but I don't put anything past these people.
Well, staged. Well, you asked the question, where was the security? And there's also chatter that Hillary Clinton knew that this could be a definite possibility.
Well, not just Hillary Clinton, but people in the State Department.
Well, all of that.
People whose job it is to know what's going on.
Well, the whole administration, and so again, where's the security? Well, that's why
Let me tell you what the words of Dr. Stephen Pieczenik. You heard that name?
Say again?
Dr. Stephen Pieczenik.
No.
Well, Dr. Stephen Pieczenik is the real-life person who's behind the character in Jack Ryan. I guess that's Ludlam, right? Hold on a second. I am talking. You're not going to play Blades now. Want something else, because that's not going to work. So, Dr. Pieczenik was the Assistant Secretary of State under 5 presidents. Mm-hmm. And I heard him on Alex Jones. He made the rounds on several other radio shows, and he said quite clearly that the intelligence people can't protect us. And the reason that they can't protect us is that most of what we're told are lies. And everything is compartmentalized. So if you have a lie, that you've got entire intelligence divisions who are operating under a lie. And in order to keep the lie going, you can't tell those people the truth. You can't say, well, it doesn't really work this way. It's really something else. So we have, he says, we're so unprotected because nobody has the full truth. Nobody knows what's going on. So if you've got bad information and you're providing intelligence or defense based on that, it doesn't do you any good.
But is it fair to say, though, that what has happened this week has put once again the economy on the back burner, which Obama is desperate to have happened? I mean, no one's talking about the economy since
temporarily, but there's been some real nuggets coming out of Obama that I would think the Republicans would jump all over. What did he say today? I was listening to Mark Levin tonight, and he said, I forget the exact quote of what he said, but it was something to that maybe he was a Christian, that if he was a Christian, he understands the Muslim people. What does he understand?
Well, he is the panderer in chief. I mean, he is the great apologizer. We know that. But
he understands the Muslims.
Well, he lived in Indonesia.
Does he understand what they did?
Well, he should understand Islam now, because he lived in Indonesia. His name was Barry Suratoro.
Well, it comes down to, does Mitt Romney have the balls to say what he needs to say to the American people?
Well, again, Mitt Romney. Well, I love it how I've been on show after show after show, and everybody from the host, not you, Ron, I'm talking about other shows, show after show after show, whether it's the audience or whether it's the host. Oh, Romney wasn't my first pick. But we have to rally around him. Then who voted for this guy then? I mean, he didn't just win the primaries by the skin of his teeth. He blew people out. He blew everybody out. I mean, Ron Paul won 1 or 2, Santorum won 1 or 2. Same thing with Newt. But Romney blew everybody out. So if nobody voted for this guy, who voted for him? And then we have to rally behind him. Listen, Rush Limbaugh during the week had a caller come in, and this caller said that the reason for these embassy attacks is not the 14-minute clip. It's the fact that we're spiking the ball in killing Osama bin Laden. I'm going to play the clip.
It's Claire in Logan, New Mexico. I'm glad you waited. I really am. Great to have you on the program. Hi.
Well, it is so great to be on the program. It's just the first time I've ever called into a show anywhere, anytime, but I was so determined to join your conversation today because what occurred to me was if the Obama administration is so concerned about not hurting the feelings of these terrorists, then why are they constantly spiking the ball about killing bin Laden?
That is a great question out there, Claire. If we're so concerned about hurting the feelings of Muslims, why is Obama bragging that he killed Osama so often? That's a fascinating question. Yeah, in fact, their campaign slogan is GM's alive and Osama's dead or something like that. They really are. They're ramming it down the throats of Islamists all over the world, aren't? That's why, in fact, Claire, don't go away. In fact, in Egypt, at the embassy yesterday, the protesters were all shouting, "We're all Osama's Obama. We're all Osama's Obama." There are millions of Osama's Obama. So we might even conclude, ladies and gentlemen, that if we're going to accept this notion that hurt feelings inspire terrorism, that maybe Obama is responsible for this. That ultimately maybe the blame falls to him. Do you think they watched the Democrat convention? You think they saw Plugs Biden up there going on and on about how Osama's dead? This could be the Obama bounce. The media was looking for the Obama bounce, and we found it, the attack on our embassy in Cairo. The real Obama bounce. Claire, you know what? There's something to this. First time you've ever called. You said you were determined to get through here.
Yeah, I'm very nervous.
And you have. And you made a brilliant point. I wanted to make sure you hung on so I could thank you.
Well, I'm just honored to be talking to you.
Well,
I'm very nervous.
Yeah. But I appreciate that. I really do. I really do. That's Claire in Logan, New Mexico. Oh, that is so right. That is so right.
All right, so that's enough of that. So here's Rush Limbaugh. You know, he's had an epiphany from this caller, and it's the fact that we sent in Navy SEAL Team 6 and killed Osama bin Laden, and we continually spike the football on that. Yet the government is concerned about a 14-minute clip and saying that we should not abuse our freedom of speech. Now, we take credit for the killing of Osama bin Laden. Now, Ron, you said something in passing on your last show, and so I did some fishing around. And I want to play a clip from an interview by David Frost with former Pakistan Prime Minister who's now deceased. She was assassinated in December of 2007, Benazir Bhutto. And the first part of it is the unedited version. The second part is edited. There's a very important piece that was pulled. And I'm going to play it twice because I think a lot of people in the chat room that are not familiar with it are kind of going to do a double take. So here is the parts of the David Frost interview with Benazir Bhutto.
Someone tell Sinaida to stop dropping out of the chat.
Yes, well, one of them is
Hold on here.
a very key figure in security. He's a former military officer. He is someone that has had dealings with Jaish-e-Mohammed, one of the banned groups of Maulana Azhar, who was in an Indian jail for decapitating 3 British tourists and 3 American tourists. And he also had dealings with Omar Sheikh, the man who murdered Osama bin Laden. Now, I know that having dealings with people does not necessarily mean direct evidence.
And in terms of these 3 people that you mentioned, were they members of or associated with the government?
Yes, well, one of them is a very key figure in security. He's a former military officer. He is someone that has had dealings with Jaish-e-Mohammed, one of the banned groups of Maulana Azhar, who was in an Indian jail for decapitating 3 British tourists and 3 American tourists. Now, I know that having dealings with people does not necessarily mean direct evidence.
I'm going to play the clip again in case you folks did not hear that one more time.
In terms of these 3 people that you mentioned, were they members of or associated with the government?
Yes, well, one of them is a very key figure in security. He's a former military officer. He is someone that has had dealings with Jaish-e-Mohammed, one of the banned groups of Maulana Azhar, who was in an Indian jail for decapitating 3 British tourists and 3 American tourists. And he also had dealings with Omar Sheikh, the man who murdered Osama bin Laden. Now, I know that having dealings with people does not necessarily mean direct evidence.
And in terms of these 3 people...
The man that murdered Osama bin Laden, Omar Sheikh. Drew, your reaction to that clip? Well, hold on. Yeah.
My reaction to that clip, I already knew about the clip, but I didn't think Osama bin Laden was alive. I didn't even think anybody murdered him. I thought he died of his own diseases. He had kidney disease.
Okay.
He was in the hospital the day before 9/11, getting I think he was getting what do you call it?
Dialysis.
Dialysis. Yeah.
He needed that 2-3 times a week. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So he wasn't getting that in the cave in Afghanistan. That's a lot of crap. And he wasn't in this house in Islamabad. I'm sorry.
Well, okay,
but in Pakistan.
Aside from that, what I want to address is, aside from that, see, people, again, the folks that are in denial, how do they reconcile the clip that I just played? How do they reconcile it?
Because they'll tell you that Benazir Bhutto is some dot-head idiot. She doesn't know what she's talking about, and everybody else does. They'll reconcile it any way they want. They're idiots.
Ron,
I'm waiting for the stupid plague.
Well, I don't know if we'll get that.
The stupid plague should come through. We would have a lot less people in the United States, and we'd have only the smart ones left.
You know, the world would be a wonderful place, wouldn't it?
Well, it would be a better place if you got rid. I'm not talking about people who are ignorant. I'm talking about
I understand. Stupid. I agree. Look, I work in retail. I deal with stupid people every day.
I'm sure, but I'm referring to the people that choose to be stupid.
All right, I want to address the chat room. People can type away. How does anyone reconcile what they heard tonight in that clip, that a man named Omar Sheikh had already murdered Osama bin Laden? How do they reconcile that? How would you, in the chat room, reconcile what you've just heard? And I'll let them give that reaction. So, again, we're called conspiracy theorists. We're un-American. We're rebels. We question authority. It's a terrible thing. We have to fix things within the establishment. I just find that just incredible. And if we swallow, the blue pill, the question remains: let's just accept the spoon-fed arguments. We have an active war Tuesday. We had an active war 11 years ago. And again, if we believe that the 15 of the 19 hijackers were the hijackers, let's just run with it. They were Saudi Arabian. How do people then justify not declaring war against Saudi Arabia, but going into Afghanistan and Iraq? How do they do it? How do they do it, and why?
Well, I know
anyone.
I know why we went into Iraq, and it was the same reason that we went into Libya.
Shoot.
Well, why did we go into Libya? You had Gaddafi had convinced a good number of his neighbors to operate on a true monetary standard, a gold standard. We'd been beating the war drums against Iran for quite a long time, and Iran had come out and threatened to create their own oil bourse. For those that don't know what an oil bourse is, that is like the New York Mercantile Exchange, where they buy and sell crude oil, a commodity exchange. And, funny thing, when Iran actually did create their own oil exchange, suddenly there was an accident out in the middle of the ocean where their internet cable was cut. Anybody remember that?
No, can you say that again, Ron? One more time?
The internet cable was cut out in the ocean supposedly by a ship dragging its anchor. That was several years ago, and there was a big brouhaha. It was in all the news. And the Iranians, quite rightfully, were pointing the finger at the Americans because we're the ones that went and cut their damn cable.
Mm-hmm.
It's difficult to conduct commodities transactions, futures transactions on an exchange if you don't have an internet connection.
Mm-hmm.
The whole thing, from our standpoint that I can see, is trying to maintain the petrodollar standard.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's the same reason they went after Gaddafi. Saddam Hussein got too big for his britches, and he wasn't playing the rules by the game by the rules anymore.
Okay, Jew, what say you? Are you with me? Well, he's on, but perhaps he's lost.
I hit the wrong unmute thing. Look, I don't even know what I don't know if we killed their cable or not. I got stuck in Thailand when they killed the cable between Korea and Thailand. That was in the ocean, but they blamed that on I think it was an earthquake that happened out there. That was in 2007 or 2008. Look, every one of these people in government is dirty. All of them. And Biden, everybody says Biden's an idiot. I'm not so sure Biden's as much of an idiot as they say he is. The day before 9/11 in 2001, $100,000 was wired to Mohammed Atta. Now, if Mohammed Atta is going to die, why'd they wire him $100,000? And he was wired $100,000 by the OSI of Pakistan. And who did Biden meet the day of 9/11? The general who was in charge of the OSI of Pakistan.
Yep.
He was in Washington. He met with Biden. There's a YouTube video of somebody who dogged Biden, probably one of the We Are Change people, and they asked him. They said, "Well, you met with such and such." He didn't deny that he met with them. He just said he couldn't talk about it because it had to do with national security. So they're all dirty. They're all complicit. I don't know to what extent Bush was involved in any of this, but certainly Bush took the advantage and used 9/11 to go and take away everybody's rights and And I told people the day of 9/11, I told my girlfriend, who was Indian, first I told her to stay inside, because idiot America can't tell the difference between Indians and Arabs. They think they're one and the same. Fast forward to the Sikh massacre out in, where was that, Michigan, or I forget where it was, someplace, or Wisconsin. So the Americans are so stupid they don't even know the difference. But I told her to stay inside. Second thing I told her, this was the morning of 9/11, I said, well, you're going to see your rights taken away at an increased rate that will make everything else look like it was going in slow motion. And that's exactly what we got. If I told you 10 years ago that people were going to stick their hands in your pants so that you could travel, you'd tell me I'm nuts. And today, what do we got? You go through the airport line, and they always find that one idiot moron who should die from the plague, who stands there on TV and says, well, it's for our safety. This is what we need to do because we got Al-Qaeda and all these other people. Meanwhile, nobody's ever caught anybody going through an airport. And if you want to get guns on an airplane or bullets, it's not illegal. It's not a felony to take a unloaded gun on the airplane if you get caught. It's not a felony to take bullets on the airplane if you get caught. It's a felony if you have bullets and a gun. So if you've got 30 people who get on board an airplane and they're all carrying guns, or some of them, half of them carrying bullets, I would think it would be real easy to get guns on the airplane. Plus, who's that guy on YouTube, the young professor who showed everybody how to fool the scanners, to put a pocket on your side so that the gun or the metal object goes into the black area where it's not seen. And really, if these people were here for our protection, they'd be taking care of the border. They don't take care of the border. They don't give a damn about the border. So this is all to train Americans to do what they're told. And the problem is that I don't do what I'm told. I don't like it. I don't consent to searches. I was just in New York City last weekend. I didn't know if I was going to get stopped to search my bags or not. I did go through the subway once, had a conversation with 6 or 7 cops, but that was to get directions. Nobody seemed to care. I was dragging a bag big enough that I could have had a cow inside that bag. It was so big. But nobody cared. And I'm sorry, it's ridiculous that we're supposed to stand around and take all this crap, and we're not being afforded any security. And our politicians lie to us all the time.
Well, I want to address, Drew, what you said about, a Biden appears dumb, but he's not so dumb. Just like they say, Obama is so naive on foreign policy.
Say that George Bush was
These
stupid,
folks
didn't they?
are very, very calculating. They're very, well, and Bush too. I mean, they're very, but let's stick to the president administration. They are very calculating. Not only do they know what they're doing now, they know what they want to do and can do 5-10 years down the road. I mean, this has been like a chess game, and now we're at check, and we're only a couple of moves away from checkmate. And I put links into the chat room to look at these 2 films. I know, Drew, you probably won't. Well, the second one you might, on the one about the architects and the engineers, and they explain the laws of physics in relation to how the towers came down. But it's like, we have outlets to find the truth, and there's so many we don't take the time. We don't take the challenge to do so. And it's just amazing how people just they quantify their reasons for the rah, swallow the blue pill, America, love it or leave it, and you're a conspirator and you're a rebel if you dare question the motives and the morality of our so-called nation's leaders. Ron, your take on that?
Well, you're exactly right. That's cognitive dissonance, plain and simple. It would shatter the protective illusion that people have had created for themselves. That's why I posted the other night the allegory of the cave.
Mm-hmm.
It is exactly the same. I don't know if you got to see that little video. It's just a 8.5 minute.
Yes, I did.
And it explains it perfectly. I mean, it really does in the most simplistic of terms. That was written in 380 BC. This is nothing new.
And guys, I'm kind of disappointed tonight. I mean, I'm happy you guys are here. I'm happy that everyone came into the chat room. But I challenged other BTR radio hosts and their audience who were calling me, the rebel and tinfoil, all this other jive. I challenged them to come into the show, to call in. I even told them, I had 2 hours reserved, and I would give plenty of time to give their reasonings and their thoughts, and they haven't showed up. Why do you think they didn't show up?
For the exact same reason, Mike. For the exact same reason. They do not want their doctrine, their ideology, challenged with truth and reality. Because then they might actually figure out the truth. And that would strip away the false sense of security that they have created for themselves. That is, by definition, cognitive dissonance.
How do you explain the fact that nobody knows that 3 buildings fell in New York? I spent a good amount of time asking New Yorkers how many buildings fell the day of 9/11, how many skyscrapers, and almost everybody told me 2.
Well, certainly. Look, that's the impact of the Twin Towers. It's a made-for-TV movie.
It's the fact that no reporter talks about it. It's the fact that no show deals with Building 7. Nobody
even worse.
admits
even worse.
Building 7.
Even worse.
Precisely.
Building 7. Hold on, just 1 second. I'll let you go. In the 9/11 Commission report, and in that clip that I put in for everyone to watch, it's under an hour long, Building 7 was not mentioned once.
Do you know why?
In the 9/11 Commission report.
Do you know why?
Tell us.
According to, there's a video out, I don't know who the reporter was, but he was an independent reporter, and he got into a press conference with, I'm going to forget now, who was the head of the 9/11 Commission? Governor
Kissinger
Keene.
was at first.
No, Governor Keene. Governor Keene of New Jersey. He used to do all the commercials about New
I know
Jersey
the clip you're talking about.
New Jersey and you.
Perfect for each other. Thomas Keane.
Governor Keene was asked why Building 7 wasn't mentioned. And aside from watching, what you got to watch is not even listen to what he said. You got to watch his eyes and his facial expressions, because he's got a look on his face like to his handlers, get me out of here now. I don't want to answer this question. But what he did answer finally about Building 7 was that since there was no loss of life in Building 7, they didn't feel that it deserved any attention. Okay, a 50-story structure falls to the ground by itself for really no reason. And they don't believe that, obviously, it must have been built improperly.
Now, the reason that was
Obviously, they must have used defective materials to build this building, and nobody wants to investigate it. It falls to the ground. Look, I watched something today. I watched a clip, not a clip. Started watching a PBS program, Frontline, on the building of the new whatever building they're building down there to replace the 2 World Trade Centers, and they had an architect on there who's involved in the new building. And he was remarking about how he watched the World Trade Centers. From his office window the morning of 9/11. And he said somebody in his office said to him, "Do you think the buildings could fall?" And his remark was, and this is what he said in the documentary. He said, "Absolutely not. No building has ever fallen due to fire." And then he sat there and explained how the building fell apart anyway. So here, he said it. He knew it. No building's ever fallen due to fire after 9/11. No building's ever fallen prior to 9/11. But he knew it. He told his colleague or his underling, whoever it was, "No, you got nothing to worry about. It's not going to fall. It's never happened. It's not possible."
Well, the reason why it went down... given reasons. It wasn't no reason. The reason they gave was random office fires. They magically happened.
Well, let me ask you this. If you've got people in the building and the building is so hot, explain to me how it is that they've got video of people walking into where the plane made a hole and standing right there and waving for help.
Yeah, that's in the 58-minute
Shouldn't they have melted? Shouldn't they have melted?
Yeah, well, you'd think. Well, that's in the 58-minute clip, the movie rather, that I put in, and I'll put it again for anyone that has missed it. I tell you, by the end of it, I had tears in my eyes. I really did. It was just gut wrenching to say the least. Guys, I got 2 callers on the line I want to bring in. Area code 760. Go.
Hi, Mike. Thanks for taking my call. I was calling in because my stupid computer won't let me hear it through my computer, so I wanted to listen. Yeah, I did watch the videos. I know Ron sent me one. I think you sent me one, and I watched as many as I could. It's, I guess I could be called now a 9/11 truther.
Well, you're a conspirator, and we are domestic terrorists.
Watch out, Linda. Glenn Beck is going to reject you. You truther, you.
Yeah, I know. He hasn't rejected my $10 a month though. For watching.
Well, we are domestic terrorists.
Oh, jeez. Yeah, the only terrorists we got running our government. But am I breaking up?
No. Well,
no, you're fine.
You're fine.
Okay. What I have been doing ever since good old Helicopter Ben did his QE3, I've been telling my neighbors and family to get money to have in their safe, enough for about 40 days, and I tell them, get some food storage. I said, it's not a matter of what, it's a matter of when, because it's just horrible. So people are paying attention, because some of the folks that I've been dealing with actually trust me, which is kind of good in a sense, because I'm not trying to steer them wrong, but I don't understand it. I guess Barack Obama and Ben Bernanke, they're working their tails off to make sure that nobody has a job ever.
Well, it won't matter if you have a job or not. You won't be able to afford to buy any damn thing.
Yeah, it'll be the Weimar Republic all over again. I think the best investment right now would be wheelbarrows.
Yeah, well,
go ahead, Mike. Sorry.
Ron, say your thought quick, but then I want to bring another caller who's been on the line.
No worries. I just wanted to tell everyone to grab that YouTube link that I put up there. That's a BBC reporter live on the air reporting that Building 7 has collapsed and it's still standing behind her in the background. And right at the moment that it actually does begin to collapse, they mysteriously lose their satellite feed.
Of course.
Interesting.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, I'm going to bring in another caller. Area code 650. Welcome to the hot seat. Go.
Hi, my name is Lila, and I'm in California.
Welcome.
Right. Hello?
Yeah, we got you.
Yeah, so I am a retired firefighter. And
Layla, yes. We've exchanged emails, yes.
Yes. Earlier today, I've been listening for the past, 45 minutes. I didn't catch the first part, but I've just been listening. And I hear you have a lot of support for the truth about 9/11, and that's encouraging.
Well, yes, Layla, I would like you to tell the audience who you are, and tell us as much as you can about the link that I put in about the engineer and architect organization.
Sure.
So could you please do that for us? Yeah.
I certainly can. I verify petition signers that sign the petition at the link. I'm sorry, I haven't seen it, but anyway, it's ae911truth.org. And when you sign the petition, I will verify the person's name and send them a welcome letter. Invite them to financially support us if they can, and thank them for looking at the information and spreading it. The outpouring has been overwhelming. We've had over 100 people sign the petition in the past 9/11. Even after that, I can't keep up with the verifications. Anyway, that's about it. I just wanted to comment on Building 7 that is the smoking gun. I believe there is no way that fire brought down those buildings, any of them. So.
Well, you as a firefighter, Layla, what was your initial reaction on the morning of September 11th, 2001?
My son was 6 years old. I was supposed to be in his classroom that day. I spent the day in class. I was worried sick about my friend Brenda Berkman, who is a retired lieutenant for the FDNY. And I was able to come home, and for some reason I got through all the chaos. I got through to her and found out she was okay. And then I had to go back to the school and resume my normal life. I don't have cable. I watched it one time at a friend's, at a neighbor's house. I've watched it one time, and that was it. It wasn't until a couple of years later I picked up the book Women at Ground Zero by Susan Hagen and Mary Karuba, and I began reading stories about some of the rescuers, the women rescuers who were there that day, and the stories that they told, I could not stop crying, and it really drove me nuts. So that was when I first started getting interested in looking into the explosions that they all heard, because the book is full of the women saying that they survived these explosions, multiple explosions before the buildings came down. These are first-hand accounts. Everything is in quotes. Nothing is made up. It's heart-wrenching. Anyway, that was my introduction to it, and until I found AE911 Truth, everybody thought I was nuts.
Can you give a little background on who started this organization and what their credentials are for the audience?
Richard Gage, AIA, 23-year architect. I've met him several times. I've helped put on some presentations with him. I've assisted. I've read excerpts out of the book, Women at Ground Zero, at a couple of presentations with him, at 3 of them, in fact. He's just a wonderfully warm, caring individual, like everybody else in the organization, who is trying to get the truth out. But, like other people have said, some people don't want it. They just don't want it. It's too big.
How many engineers and architects presently make up the organization, and how many have signed the petition so far?
Geez. I know it's over 1,500. Is it 1,700? I don't keep up on the number. I'm not interested in the numbers.
Right.
The fact that we have the energy flowing toward us is what's important to me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very good. Well, I believe in the cause, and well, I'm not going to get into details with the audience as I did with you, but I'm really not the type that I don't give money. Certainly never to politicians. That'll never happen. And when I can, I give money when I can to St. Jude's Hospital Cancer for Children, or Children with Cancer, rather. But I did give a donation to this group because how could you not? When you see, it's physics, folks. It's not conspiracies. It's not reptilians. It's not UFOs and tinfoil hats. Yeah. This is physics. This is the law of physics.
I'll tell you what, I've had family members say, well, okay, so it's physics. Well, then what? And then I don't know what to say. So I just kind of walk away.
Tell them they've been lied to.
Well, they know. These are people who are cops. They're ex-sheriffs who should know better, I would hope. Anyway.
And as Piston Pilot, the one angry Jew, pointed out that this was a prelude to many of our rights and liberties taken away. As we know, the Patriot Act, TSA, and NDAA 2012. And then I talked about, when we talk about this stuff, and we're a truther, we're a conspiracy theorist advocator. Now it's to the point where we can be considered domestic terrorists. A study, Profiles of Perpetrators of Terrorism, commissioned by the Department of Homeland Security, identified the following characteristics of potential terrorists.
You know what?
Hold on. Americans who believe their way of life is under attack. Americans who are fiercely nationalistic as opposed to universal and international in orientation. People who consider themselves anti-global, presumably those who are wary of the loss of American sovereignty, opposed to the United Nations, etc. Americans who are suspicious of centralized federal authority. Americans who are reverent of individual liberty. And lastly, people who believe in conspiracy theories.
Well, that's not me. That's not me. So I don't worry about it.
I'm just saying that, the bigger that our voices may get, over time, the more of a bullseye that we could possibly see on our backs.
Well, you know what?
And you know what I've been told, folks? I've been told that, because I took umbrage on another show that, the Patriot, I won't vote for Romney or, certainly not Obama, but I won't vote for Romney either because he's for the Patriot Act and the NDAA. And the question was given to me was, well, how is the Patriot Act affecting your life now?
Oh my God.
Yeah. So one by one, Drew, how would you respond to that question? How is the Patriot Act and NDAA affecting you now? Like, why is that a concern for you now?
I don't know that it affects me directly, but indirectly. It takes away rights. Look, you have no right to take away my rights. You have no right to bargain away my rights or agree or haggle my rights away. It just doesn't work that way. Meanwhile, Obama, scumbag that he is, claimed when he was running that the Patriot Act was horrible, it was unconstitutional, but he signed it 3 or 4 times already, so it doesn't sunset. And I had a conversation yesterday with, in fact, I'm not even quite sure who I had a conversation with. I know she was a Democrat. I know she likes Obama. I know she was at the convention, but she was also a lobbyist, and from what she told me, I think she was also working for the CIA or one of those places in a limited capacity. I'm not exactly sure what, but she had some overseas experience. But the point being is that I was talking to her about a lot of the stuff I'm talking to you about. And when she realized that I knew the scam, she told me, she says, you can't live here. I said, yeah, I know that. She said, but really, she says, people like you and what you know, you're not supposed to know what you know. And because you know it, it's very difficult for you to stay here. She says, you really should move somewhere else. See, I've often said, get out of the way, because you can't stop it. You can't fix this from within the system. The system's cancerous. You can't cure the cancer from within the cancer. It's not possible. You can't fix the system because the system is so broken, it's not repairable. It needs to be completely thrown out and recreated. So if you think that you're going to stand in front of these people and you're going to impede their progress, that's not going to happen because they'll find ways to get rid of you or kill you. So there's no way to stop this. And you don't have the backing of the American people because they're too damn stupid to understand what's going on and what's being done to them. You ever watch RT? Russia Today?
Russia, of course.
Okay, well, the Russians laugh their asses off at us because we're supposed to be the people that know. No, we're supposed to be the people that know everything about freedom and whatnot, and we don't know crap, apparently. And according to them, we ought to be able to see what's being done to us. They know what's being done to us because it was already done to them. They see the signs. They know exactly what's coming and where it's going. And yet you'll be, it doesn't matter. Just picture this. You got a guy standing in the middle of the airport. There's some guy with not all his teeth and a blue glove, which he hasn't changed in 40 people. He's already touching the pubic lice of how many people before you, but he's got his hands in your pants. He's telling you that you can't go anywhere. You can't talk to your wife. Your wife can't give you a drink even though you're diabetic. And if it's a little girl or a little boy, you can't be with the little boy because the man's got to stick his hands in their pants. This is the way it is. This is America. And even though you've got there somebody with their hands in your pants, now these people are still going to stand there and tell you that we're the freest country in the world. They deserve a good smack in the head. Freest country in the world. Yep. We don't protect our borders. We stand there and harass people in airports, but we don't protect the border. We harass people at checkpoints 100 miles inland that really have no purpose other than to find drugs and whatever else it is that they're looking for. And it has nothing to do with immigration. But we put up with that and we say, oh, this is good. This is making our world safer. A lot of crap. I left this country years ago in 2006 and moved to Thailand. I did not expect to be back here. I'm back here for reasons that I would rather wish I wasn't. I expected to die in Asia or maybe somewhere else, but not here. I had no intention of coming back to America. I had no intention of being in America to watch these idiots destroy my country. I didn't give a damn what the people in Thailand did. I didn't care if they had a king. I didn't care if they did this and there were the ways that they did stuff. It wasn't my country. But I was going to be damned if I was going to stay in this country and watch this nightmare. And unfortunately, I'm back here temporarily until I can amass enough cash to go do it again. And I'm out of here before they close the borders and make it so I can't leave.
Gotcha. Linda, your thoughts on... Well,
I had thoughts on what Layla, is that what her name?
Yeah.
Or Lila?
Yeah.
And the other gentleman who just finished talking about, and you had posed the question about the NDAA and the Patriot Act. Well, it does affect you directly when you go through an airport and experience what that gentleman just described, which, I mean, that goes on hourly, minute by minute, all over this land, and it's abhorrent. It is unconstitutional. And to me, it's evil. And Ron puts up those links for the Allegory Cave, which I had watched.
Well, hold on.
Last week.
Can I interrupt you for a second? I'm not so sure it's unconstitutional, and I'll tell you why. I haven't even looked this up, but I'm fairly sure this is the case. When you travel by air, you agree to certain things from the airlines, and I believe that you agree to all this stuff. The fact that you show up there and show up at their checkpoint means that you agree to it. It's sort of like walking into a court. If you walk into a court and converse with the judge, you've agreed to the judge's jurisdiction. If you don't challenge the jurisdiction, you've agreed to it. So I don't know that it's unconstitutional. But when they show up...
It sucks.
Well, I agree with you. But when they show up, the TSA... and they show up at some event, say it's a Romney event, and it's at a stadium or whatnot. Again, this is a private company that you're agreeing that in order to go in there that you're allowing them to put your hands in your pants. The problem is not with the TSA, it's not with the government, it's with the airlines that allow this to take place and make you subject to it.
Right. So,
and it's also the people's fault to comply with it, as you're basically kind of intimating.
So the allegory of the cave, which is an excellent video, you guys should all watch it. And the lady who's the firefighter or ex-firefighter was mentioning about the people that don't want the truth. Well, those are the people in the cave, and it comes to a point where you need to cover up the game because you can't get through to them. It's crazy.
Ron, your thoughts on should we just wait until things like the Patriot Act and the NDAA? Should we wait? Should we just keep endorsing the system since we're not directly affected today, by the Patriot Act?
Now hang on a minute. There's a couple of big issues in there. The Patriot Act does affect you, even if you don't realize it, and I think the Jew recognizes that. The fact is, the way it affects you and the way it affects every American in this country is that the Patriot Act gives credence to the idea or justifies the idea that government, first and foremost, has the authority to diminish your rights under the correct circumstances that might make it necessary for the public good. So it creates that perception, which is a false perception. I don't believe that what the pilot is recommending is that everyone simply acquiesce to everything that's going on, but we must be prudent and pick our fights wisely. And if you've been listening to my program for any length of time, you will have heard me say on numerous occasions that I sincerely believe we crossed our Rubicon, that is our point of no return, many, many decades ago. And those of us that are in here tonight talking about this topic are simply those few who have realized that fact, and we don't like it.
And I just want to say, I want to touch on also the Jews remark that, when you go into the airport, and you go through the process, you're basically complying.
You're under contract
with their demands. But I want to amplify it a little bit. You are complying and you're capitulating, and you're basically endorsing the system.
Correct.
Because you're supporting it, which is why I say my argument again is that to vote for Obama or to vote for Romney, you're endorsing the establishment, and your vote is your litmus test. To say that Mitt Romney, these other folks, he's not my first choice, but we have to rally around him. Well, November 7th, guess what? Or November 6th, rather. If you vote for him, well, he is your first choice, because your vote is your stamp. Your vote is your time stamp, and it's your fingerprint. And all the rhetoric and all the pontification that we do, those are all words. If we just endorse the system and the establishment once again, as Pilot pointed out, the Jew pointed out, the country is broken. And Ron, as you pointed out, we're past the point of no return. And if we continue to endorse the establishment, we just get further and further along, and we are complying. And to comply is to deny. It's denying the truth that we are under attack, both by foreign entities and by domestic entities. And when are we going to say no?
Well, I agree. When are we going to say no? And, part of what you're saying here, I made an appeal to my family several years ago, I think 2003 or 4, and much of my family is very devoutly Christian. And I called them over to my home because they all thought I was absolutely nuts. I had lost my mind. No way our government was involved with 9/11. You're a conspiracy theorist and all of these other things. And my appeal to them was from a biblical standpoint. And what I told them is, okay, you understand from Scripture that man cannot serve two masters. And you understand that as a Christian, we're not supposed to be of this world. We're not supposed to be enticed by the things of this world. And they understood all of that, and they agreed with me wholeheartedly. I said, and so do you not see the fact that as long as you remain in the world and participate in the system and comply with that system, that you are in effect turning your back on God and everything that you claim that you stand for on principle alone?
Well, let's shrink that a little bit, though, because that's very wide. It's very true. But let's shrink that a little bit. I want to key in on your last statement. And I'm going to paraphrase. Your action, your final action, is a reflection of now I'm really losing of what you truly are. I mean,
actions speak louder than words, my friend.
Right. And so everyone that calls themselves, constitutionalists and take the country back and yada 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 yada, who at the same time say you have to rally around Mitt Romney, it's false.
Right.
They lose their credibility. And I was hoping that these people would have walked into the hot seat tonight and take me up on the challenge. Because I think what you've just said validates, what I've been saying all along, is that when are we going to stop the complicity? When are we going to say no to the establishment?
Do you not see the irony in millions of self-proclaimed Christians going to the voting booth in November and voting for a Mormon? And what's their other choice? A Muslim. I see it as purely
and a baby
ironic.
Killer. And a baby killer.
So your choice, your lesser of the two evils, is to vote for one candidate or the other, neither of which embrace Christianity at all. And Glenn Beck has been doing a wonderful job, I might add, for the last several years in selling himself as a Christian. But I will warn people that it is quasi-Christianity. Learn more about Mormonism if you consider yourself to be a Christian, and you're going to put those principles ahead of all else.
Right.
Well, I mean, Ron, definitely, that is true. And I just wanted, like I said, my version, I just wanted to shrink it down to purely political endeavors.
Sure.
You're going outside of that, and rightfully so. But I just wanted to shrink, because you could really put these folks in a box. If you just keep it in the political realm, and again, you call yourself a patriot, not you, the others, fighting for our freedoms or liberties, blah, blah, blah. But then you vote for either party who is stripping you of that. What does that tell you of your credibility? You don't have any.
You have none.
Right,
exactly.
So those folks ought to just close up their shows, because you've got to or change it and just say who you really are. You're a capitulating, whiny little baby that is going to endorse the system. It doesn't have the guts to say no. And to say that a non-vote for Romney is a vote for Obama has absolutely zero basis. You have zero credibility as a talk show host and as an armchair political quarterback, and you ought to be ashamed of yourself. That's just how I see it.
Well, a perfect example. where is Code Pink? Where were they in protesting the DNC and Obama and his war stance?
Well,
I thought Obama was the president that was going to end the war and bring the troops home. And
well, you saw what a fake, phony deal that was. I mean, the only ones that came out in throngs was the Occupy Wall Street movement. They hammered him. I mean, we talked about that, I believe, last week. We just, it was just an absolute onslaught, calling him a traitor, and he broke promises. Gee, wow! I was shocked. I was personally shocked that Obama broke all of his promises. Stunned. I couldn't believe it. I mean, I just could not believe.
Your sarcasm is
no,
less than recognizable.
No. I'm trying to be. I was absolutely stunned that we didn't get hope and change. Stunned. I mean, I thought we were going to get all together and hug and kiss, and we're all going to have the same opportunities, and it was going to be great. And wow, I'm stunned that it didn't work out, and I'm stunned that the Republican Party has put up basically Obama in whiteface to run against him, to put the American people in a lose-lose battle. I'm stunned. And we should all work. We're going to hold his feet to the fire, and we should all work for electing Mitt Romney, who's going to change everything. He's going to repeal Obamacare. He's going to make everybody love America again. He's the new Ronald Reagan. Heck, he's Jesus Christ. He's just going to fix it all. And a vote for Mitt Romney is a vote for liberty and your freedom and taking the country back. Amazing, just amazing. But I'm the tortured rebel. Thank you. I like that. It's just unbelievable. It's just absolutely unbelievable. Now, speaking of Mitt Romney and Barack Obama and all that, and as I had said, and I'm sure you've heard me say that, after the RNC changing to the rule and knocking out the grassroots, we've been alienated. And we should all desert the Republican Party. And if the Tea Party was worth their salt, they would also have left, and they should have endorsed Ron Paul if they really had any credibility. Laura Ingraham stated that basically if the GOP loses the election in November to an opponent as weak as Obama, they should shut down the party. And Rush Limbaugh has actually gone on to predict the end of the Republican Party. I want to play that clip for you.
It's Claire in Logan, New Mexico. I'm glad you waited. I really am. Great to have you on the program. Hi.
Well, it is so great to be on the program. It's just the first
time I've
ever called.
I thought I had it up here. Well, basically what he's saying is, if the Republicans do lose, that could be the end of the Republican Party as we see it, and that it'll actually move into we could see a third party, more conservative or libertarian in scope, and that if Obama is reelected, here it is. Let him roll.
How long do you think this country has? Let me ask you this: how long does this country have if Obama wins? We are headed toward an economic collapse. And we are the leader of the world. When it happens to us, there are reverberations all over the world. It's not like some podunk little European country collapsing that goes to another relatively podunk European country for a bailout. When we collapse, worldwide reverberation. How long is it going to take? I'm asking a serious question. 18 months? You throw Obamacare onto what we know we're going to get more of from Obama. More debt, more spending, the expansion of the welfare state, more people under... How long can this go on? How many of you think we're at the tipping point now? Medicare, Medicaid, Social Security. The years are 2020, 2022, 2024 as to when they implode. How long do we have if this guy wins? And then what happens? If this guy wins, do you realize, I saw Matthews. Matthews was saying, I don't know when, Friday, Saturday on PMSNBC, if Obama wins, that's the end of conservatism. Nope. If Obama wins, let me tell you what's the end of. The Republican Party. And there's going to be a third party that's going to be oriented toward conservatism. Rand Paul thinks libertarianism. And I know if Obama wins, the Republican Party is going to try to maneuver things so conservatives get blamed. The only problem is, right now, Romney's not running a conservative campaign. But they're going to set it up so, the right sat home or the right made Romney be other than who he is. They'll try to deflect the blame. But they got who they want. How long do we have, folks? If Obama wins, how long do we have? I know people who think 18 months. 18 months before a real United States economic collapse that the Fed can't do anything about, that the Chi-Coms can't do anything about. 2 years, 4 years, whatever. Point is, that's what's on the other side of Obama winning, because he's not going to change anything.
Okay, we got about 19 minutes left in the show. I'm gonna go around the panel one more time. Jew, your thoughts on this last clip, or the entire show? Is there anything that?
How bad a thing is that the Republican Party disappears?
I think it's beautiful. I think both parties should disappear.
They haven't done us much good.
No, they haven't.
I'm going to direct you to your chat. I want you to copy this link. Ready?
Yeah.
Let me tell you what that is. That's the archive.org, or also called the Wayback Machine. That page will take you to every news broadcast the day of 9/11. Up on the top is also the day after that, and the day after that. If you want to know what happened on 9/11, watch the videos from 9/11. And then watch the videos on Wednesday. Because what you're going to find is that while on Tuesday all the reporters grimaced and jumped and flinched every time they heard an explosion, the same scumbag pieces of crap reporters the next day will tell you that there were no explosions. They didn't hear any explosions. What explosions were that? So you can watch the video as it was, the live video. It's all been recorded there. Especially interesting, I find, is the video of the Pentagon, where the nice CNN reporter will tell you that, there's a hole in the building. There's no debris. Can't find really any evidence that a plane hit the Pentagon. Fast forward several years later, you can YouTube search that same reporter, and you'll find out that he'll tell you how the planes crashed into the Pentagon. Of course, he happens to be the Pentagon spokesperson now. He works for them. But if you look at the video of that day, and you look at the certain times, pay careful attention to the lawn, where you won't see any debris. And then watch as later in the morning as debris magically appears. There's no debris earlier, but there's airplane debris, or whatever it is, on the lawn that wasn't there before. And if some of you remember, and I remember it from the day of 9/11, I thought it was very strange. Do you remember guys in white suits and red ties, short sleeve shirts, white shirts, short sleeve, all milling about the lawn of the Pentagon, picking up debris? Anybody remember that?
No.
Well, you'll see it on the video. I remember from the day of 9/11 because I scratched my head and I thought, wait a second. Who picks up evidence in a crime scene? Who picks up things and moves them around? In fact, there's a picture of Rumsfeld out there picking up debris. Is Rumsfeld not part of the cabinet, or was part of the cabinet? He's a pretty important guy, right?
Yep.
But he didn't think it was prudent for him to get into a bunker where it was safe. He was okay being on the front lawn of the Pentagon right after it was hit with something. How strange is that? Wouldn't he have handlers that said to him, no, Don, let's get down in the bunker with Dick Cheney and make sure you guys are all safe? And I guess if you know that 9/11 was an inside job and there's nothing more coming at the Pentagon, you probably don't have any problem being on the lawn of the Pentagon because you know you're safe.
Interesting.
Same with George Bush when he sat in the classroom. Here, America's under attack, and yet the Secret Service aren't moving his ass into an airplane and out of there.
Yeah, he should have been gone. Immediately gone.
Well, apparently but he wasn't. He was left to sort of nod his head and look stupid. Again, I don't think George Bush was ever stupid. But
none of them are stupid, Jew.
I don't know that George Bush ran 9/11. I think that 9/11 ran itself. I think the people that did it are the same people that tell George Bush and the other presidents, you will do what we tell you, or we'll hurt your family, or we'll do this, or you can't get out from under us. Just like Ronald Reagan was told to toe the line by getting shot. They didn't kill him; they hurt him, but he changed the way he did things, didn't he?
Sure did.
And just an aside on now that I mentioned Reagan, John Hinckley and the Hinckley family, his parents, were friends with George W. Bush Sr. And John Hinckley knew the Bush boys. He was supposed to go out to dinner with them the night after he shot Reagan. He was a family friend. His parents, also from oil money, were friends with the Bushes from Texas. They knew each other. They went to the same country clubs. They went out together. They were not unknown to each other. Didn't hear that in any of the news reporting, did you?
Of course not. There's a lot of things. I mean, we know the answer to that. Drew, I want to thank you for calling in, and your input was definitely invaluable. And I hope you'll come back. I'm on every Friday night at 9 p.m. Feel free to either listen in or call. And, I thank you very much for coming on in, and I really appreciate it.
You're welcome.
You're righty. Thank you very much. Okay, I'm going to go to Ron. Ron, your final thoughts and the topic tonight, and or Rush Limbaugh's the end of the Republican Party.
I really don't have much in the way of thoughts on Rush Limbaugh. As far as the rest of the show,
personalize it. Personalize, what he said. I mean,
Well, I think he's probably correct, but I think the death of the Republican Party occurred at the Republican National Convention, or whatever semblance of a party remained going into that convention. The topics on the show I thought were great. We could probably do a 24-hour marathon because there's so many rabbit holes to chase down. And Linda and I had talked about this the other night. It defies logic. I think everyone feels a lot the way I do, in that with everything so obvious to those of us who have eyes that see and ears that hear, it would seem that there should be a way that we could phrase or summarize everything very briefly that would just explain it perfectly. But it's so complex that it's just not possible.
Well, Ron, you mentioned rabbit holes. And in the beginning of the show, I went through a Matrix parody or metaphor, if you will.
Yep.
And part of the show, when Neo took the red pill, Alice is about to go bye-bye. And for those that did not show up tonight. I hope they listen to this podcast. I'm gonna put the link to those two movie clips that I put in, and hopefully they'll take the challenge and watch it, and especially the one on the 9/11 truth by the architect and the engineers. Then it comes down to, you're going to continue to swallow that blue pill, or you're going to take the red pill and find yourself in synthetic embryonic goop and come out of the matrix, baby. Come out of the matrix. Linda, your final thoughts on what Rush Limbaugh had said about the Republicans, the party collapsing and perhaps going to libertarian, or on the show, or you?
Yeah, I think that Rush probably is very well correct, because we've talked about this, you've talked about the rule change, etc. And like Ron says, and you guys say that that's not a bad thing. I'm hoping that there would be a libertarian type party that's for real, that had a really good coalition, to the tune of the Tea Party members, because they're growing in number. So, and I really learned a lot about the 9/11 stuff, and Drew was wonderful with what he said, and thanks for taking my call. And I had to go by telephone because my stupid computer wouldn't let me in the chat room. So.
Well, that's okay, Linda. I hope you will, and for everyone else who joined late, I hope you will re-listen to the podcast, at least up to the point where you came in. Certainly there's no reason, unless you find such value in it that you would listen to it twice, but that's up to you. But definitely check out the full 2 hours. So again, I thank all of you for your participation, especially the callers and those in the chat room that stayed for the entire 2 hours of stepping out of the matrix, if you will, and swallowing that red pill. I'm now going to disconnect the callers, and I'm going to give final thoughts, and I hope to see you all again next week. Thank you.
God bless.
God bless you. Okay, folks. At both conventions that we saw a few weeks ago, leaders determined or pretended to determine who they wish to govern the nation for the next 4 years. Amidst inevitable endless exaltations of democracy. Yet we are not a democracy. In fact, the Founding Fathers found the concept of democracy very dangerous. For example, the First Amendment protects free speech. It doesn't or shouldn't matter if that speech is aberrant to 51% or 99% of the people. Therefore, our President and Secretary of State should be defending our free speech and not apologizing for it. Speech is not subject to majority approval. Under our Republican form of government, the individual, the smallest of minorities, is protected from the mob. Sadly, the Constitution and its protections are respected less and less as we have quietly allowed our constitutional republic to devolve into a militarist, corporatist, social democracy. Laws are broken, quietly changed and ignored when inconvenient to those in power, while others in positions to check and balance do nothing. We should not tolerate the fact that we have become a nation ruled by men, their whims and the mood of the day, and not laws. It cannot be emphasized enough that we are a republic, not a democracy, and as such, we should insist that the framework of the Constitution be respected and boundaries set by laws are not crossed by our leaders. These legal limitations on government assure that other men do not impose their will over the individual. Rather, the individual is able to govern himself. When government is restrained, liberty thrives. These excerpts are taken from a recent statement from none other than Ron Paul. And finally, what I presented here tonight is both frightening and shocking. As the 9/11 experts movie say at the end, fear is the driving factor that allows people to deny facts. We are taught to believe that it is inconceivable for who we elect to serve and protect us could be perpetrators and accomplices to heinous crimes against its own people. On this premise, 50 years later, people still believe in the magic bullet theory. The painful reality is that the entire world, both foreign and domestic, is waging an unmitigating and relentless war on the main tenet of our great country. And that is the individual's right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. My name is Mike, and this is The Hot Seat. And may the true God, Jehovah, or Yahweh if you prefer, the God of Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, and his only begotten Son, Jesus Christ, bless the people of the United States of America and true believers around the world.
You Americans are so gullible. No, you won't accept communism outright. But we'll keep feeding you small doses of socialism until you'll finally wake up and find you already have communism. We won't have to fight you. We'll so weaken your economy until you fall like overripe fruit into our hands. We'll keep feeding you small doses of socialism, doses of socialism, doses of socialism, until you'll finally have communism. Doses of socialism, doses of socialism, doses of socialism. We'll keep feeding you small doses of socialism, doses of socialism, doses of socialism, until you'll finally have communism. Doses of socialism, doses of socialism, until you'll finally wake up and find you already have communism.
Take your pick. Capitalist or socialist, communist, Stalinist, or elite globalist. Are you a patriot or are you a Marxist? Are you Occupy Wall Street or are you free markets? I'm a threat to the left, so that makes me a target. I've been down with the Tea Party since it first started. Listen, High Cal is on a mission to warn you about the tactics of cloud and pivot. You left-wing radicals, keep your global vision, because socialism is a broken system. I'm hoping and wishing that these jokers will listen. Enemy of the state, they want to throw me in prison. Didn't go to college, but I got knowledge and wisdom. The truth is being hidden by dishonest politicians. The socialist government doesn't like competition. And let's not forget, communism killed millions.
Doses of socialism, doses of socialism, doses of socialism, until you finally have communism. Doses of socialism, doses of socialism, doses of socialism. We'll keep feeding you small doses of socialism, doses of socialism, doses of socialism, until you finally have communism. Doses of socialism, doses of socialism, until you finally wake up and find you already have communism.
Keep your handouts and your nanny state. The individual mandates you can't debate. Forget the candidates and the plans they make. Socialism is a scam, it's a bad mistake. They want to take from the rich and give to the lazy. Redistribute the wealth, isn't it crazy? Class warfare, these communists hate me cause I tell it like it is, like Reagan in the 80s. Karl Marx policies will ruin the economy. Behold the dark prophecy from Marxist philosophy. It's up to you, tyranny or democracy. I'm blessed spiritually, and commies ain't stopping me. Go ahead and worship Mao Zedong and Che Guevara. Me, I hang with Monica Crowley and Jay Matera. Enemy of the state, hate speech, catch the rhythm. We can't fall victims of the socialist system.
Doses of socialism, doses of socialism, doses of socialism, until you finally have communism. Doses of socialism, doses of socialism, doses of socialism. We'll keep feeding you small doses of socialism, doses of socialism, doses of socialism, until you finally have communism. Doses of socialism, doses of socialism, until you finally wake up and find you already have communism.
Hot Cal, I stay letting the mic spark. I'm battling radical elements like Breitbart. Miss you, man. R.I.P. LBJ, failed with this great society. Woodrow Wilson, FDR. Our country's being scarred by communist czars. Cause they're all just left-wing fascists, hippies and liberals, junkies and drug addicts. Let's divide this country into two different classes, those who do and those who don't pay taxes. Comrade, keep your hands off my cash flow. You want communism? Go live with Castro. This is a warning, I hope that you listen, because defeating you steady doses of socialism.
Doses of socialism, doses of socialism, doses of socialism, until you finally have communism. Doses of socialism, doses of socialism, doses of socialism. We'll keep feeding you small doses of socialism, doses of socialism, doses of socialism, until you finally have communism. Doses of socialism, doses of socialism, until you finally wake up and find you already have communism.
Right now at Gap Factory and Banana Republic Factory, save 50 to 70% off everything in stores and online. That's right, 50 to 70% off everything. Celebrate the 4th with dresses from $19.99 at Banana Republic Factory. And at Gap Factory stores, tees start at $4.99. Plus, save an extra 40% off clearance. Sale ends Tuesday. Search our store locator for your nearest Gap Factory and Banana Republic Factory store or shop us online. Right now at Gap Factory and Banana Republic Factory, save 50 to 70% off everything in stores and online. That's right, 50 to 70% off everything. Celebrate the 4th with dresses from $19.99 at Banana Republic Factory. And at Gap Factory stores, tees start at $4.99. Plus, save an extra 40% off clearance. Sale ends Tuesday. Search our store locator for your nearest Gap Factory and Banana Republic Factory store or shop us online.